All right. Okay, so I'm gonna read you 3 poems and just 3 short poems and an excerpt from my novel. Okay. So this is a poem called "Happy," and I wrote the first draft of it last June. I fell in love with a song by Bruce Springsteen called "Happy," and it made me reflect on what happiness is and how I don't really know what happiness is. And I think I get the wrong idea about what happiness is because I want it. So I had this moment where I was actually feeling happy, and I kind of try to record it by writing a poem about it in my phone. And I've kind of gone back and worked on it through the past few months. So this is what I have of it right now. Happy. Killing time before Brittany and Sophie's gig. A bench in Hudson River Park, a holy summer night. Traces of day blue light remaining on the 852 horizon. The ship sailed behind the trees and above the circular path of grass preceding me, my guitar in its soft case drooping near my lap. At the gig, Sophie will sing her songs of the square moon and children drowning and umbrella drinks, accompanied by Brittany on keys, who talked to me at the Roxy like she already knew me. I'll get pasta. What more can a guy want than food for his empty stomach and music for his broken heart? A dog's hopping across the way under the table of young professionals, and I feel one with these young, though we wear different clothes. I wouldn't call it equanimity, just happy. This is called Important, and I wrote the first draft of this in June on a train. I was taking the subway downtown for Bloomsday, which is this James Joyce event that goes on every June downtown in Ulysses Bar on Wall Street, and Colin McCann kind of puts it together. Yeah, and they read from Ulysses because it's literally Bloomsday in this beer garden.
How heady.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It's an awesome event, and I kind of wrote this to try to show the mundane way you can think about terrorism and disaster happening, which is kind of what we deal with on a daily basis. But this is like in a very mundane sense, which can be underrated, A black man with his briefcase before his chest like a shield. A couple of white construction workers tapping on buttons talking about yesterday's game. Toothpaste stains dotting both my thighs, and I'm widening my computer eyes, taking in the scene. Our locomotive screeches into Wall Street like ancient organs churning out a shit. That's how it'd feel if our factories weren't empty, if there was a future in the land of the plenty. Relief, then relaxation. Like when I thought to myself, this train is nowhere near important enough to bomb. Okay, this is the last one. This is 161st Street, and I wrote this based on a prompt that I got when I came here to this reading a couple months ago. 161st Street. In the park on 161st Street, a monk dribbles a basketball at 3 a.m. Your best friend's mom calls him the Mad Dribbler, and that's like your meditation bell. A calm neighborhood doesn't always come with quiet. And the Latin Kings ain't been around in a while over copyright infringement. In the afternoon, children like you slide down the slide, the playground drunks piss down after midnight, and girls like your sister can be down by forfeiting their bodies like boys, but it's just to be toys, separate but unequal treatments. This is a dream you have about home when you occasionally wake up from drowsy homogenization. The Jamaican good humor man said, "What's up? What's up?" leaning out his parade white truck, slapping skin with the sweet-toothed youth, and the Mad Dribbler like a crowing rooster, ponking you into tomorrow, with rainbow sprinkle residue under your tongue. Another one of the boys destined to commit our beautiful casual violence. Okay. So this is a scene from my novel, and I think it's like a girl having some ex-boyfriend problems. Just picture this guy you maybe dated when you were like 18, and years later, something horrible happens to him, and he suddenly comes to you wanting you to comfort him, and that's kind of like the basis of the scene. So I'll just read it. He was drunk in the shower, the bottle on the soap tray. The only thoughts that made him happy were about her and birdhouses. He didn't understand the connection, but it was her writing her screenplay, peering at him in a dark room with the light of the computer screen illuminating her face, letting him see her that way, which he had not. Then birds flying from their birdhouses into some anonymous blue horizon, free. He resolved himself to make the phone call. The next day he sat in the lobby. The lobby had a plastic Christmas tree glowing in the far corner. There were presents underneath the fake tree, red and green boxes probably filled with nothing. It was early for a tree, a winter sign during fall. On the walk down 8th Avenue, he thought for a second he might be trailing blood behind him. He was sober, wanted to impress her. Chris wore black slacks and a black sweater. Shaving his face and combing his hair had been difficult. How was there ever time for these things? A security guard sat behind a desk and twirled a gold pen between his fingers. A song played, filling the lobby. You are beautiful, no matter what they say. Words can't bring you down. The guard eyed Chris. Can I help you with anything, young man? He asked pleasantly. Ah, Chris said. He glanced over his shoulder at the revolving doors. People were exiting and entering the building in steady numbers. He may have already missed her. I'm waiting for a friend of mine, Chris said, shocked by the confidence in his voice. I guess I should have called first. Oh, no, that's okay. I'm not trying to be a bother, the guard said. I just looked up from my puzzle and saw you. Puzzle? Crossword. Oh, you ever play? Nah, I don't know why. I never felt like it. I've lost my fucking mind. Good way to pass the time, the guard said. I guess. Hey, who you meeting? Maybe I could make a call. Oh, that's okay. Seems a little silly to just sit there and wait. Yeah, I guess. A little silly, the guard said, and he looked at Chris with a little more interest. Why not, Chris said. Audrey Earl at Vogue. I'm not sure which floor. Was she expecting you? It's a little bit of a surprise, Chris said, but we do know each other. And your name, said the guard. Chris. I'll need the first and last. I'm Chris Gennardi. The guard was scribbling again. There was a lull between songs. The lobby had emptied and the revolving doors were still. Chris heard a dull ping and saw the elevator doors opening. She wore a two-piece business vest with a long black skirt dipping underneath her knees. Her shirt was white. Her hair was braided in the back, even redder in the lobby's pale light. Her heels clicked on the tile floor. Her skirt was wavy. For 6 years, he'd only seen her face in dreams. Wow, he said and stood. You know, you don't look too different. I thought you looked different in the pictures, Chris said. A couple of the scabs on his back itched. She said nothing, just looked at him like he was wounded. She knew about Jason. They had discussed that on the phone after he got her number on Facebook. She probably thought that would be the extent of their reunion. The address of her office was listed on Facebook, too. Audrey wrapped him in a hug and pulled his body close to her body. She placed her right hand on the back of his head. Their bodies separated, but her hand lingered. I'm so sorry. She took her hand away. I appreciate that, he said, and was frightened by the way their voices echoed. I'm sorry I came here. Are you busy? No, of course, she said, and she sat down on the couch on the edge and patted the empty space across from her. Chris sat beside her. I guess I just wanted to tell you in person. That conversation yesterday meant a lot to me, he said. Okay, she said, and hugged him again. It was a quicker hug. If you need anything, Chris. Audrey, he said, would you walk with me? She smiled, dug her fists against the cushion. Yeah, she said. Where do you want to go? I just want to walk, Chris said, and he dropped his chin against his palm. I just want you to walk with me, if you can. Chris, you don't have to. No, it's okay. It's okay. They walked up 6th Avenue, crossing the intersection past the 14th Street subway stop and continuing along West 15th, which was covered overhead by construction scaffolding. Audrey walked fast, like he remembered. She wasn't looking at him. Her arms were crossed. Chris halted in front of a store window, which was occupied by a mannequin family wearing fall fashions. They're missing eyes, he observed. You know, Audrey said, and she rubbed his shoulder. Maybe you should be home. Who was the fucker who first came up with using mannequins to sell shit? That's what I want to know, Chris said, and he smiled. I don't know, Audrey said, and she moved closer, held onto his arm. I don't think this is what you should be doing, she said. Are you listening? I think you should be with your family. I'm glad we talked. I wanted to call you or message you after I found out what happened, but I couldn't, so it was good. I never could say anything either, Chris said. He nodded toward the mannequins. Are you listening? You need help, Audrey said. She gripped his arm tighter. You need help, and I can't help you. Despite the rising panic in her voice, there was a steadiness to her gaze. To him, her light was keeping his head above the black wave, and at any moment, he could become completely submerged. Look, he said, I've got it together. I want to be with you. That's why I'm here. I've got it together. Come on, let's keep walking. He moved forward, wanted to escape from under the scaffolding. She followed, 2 paces behind. That thing we had back then, Chris said, eyes toward the next street. We couldn't help where it ended up. Your brother died. No, he said. Yeah, and he laughed. What do you think? I need a news flash? He turned around and nearly knocked over a woman with a Halloween cloak slung over her shoulder. The traffic on the sidewalk split between Chris as if he were a stone in a stream. We're not talking about that, all right? This isn't about that. You didn't walk with me for pity. Pity was over the phone. You didn't tell me you were coming to my office. You came with me. I shouldn't have. Let's have a drink. I want to have a drink. I want to hear whatever happened to your screenplay, he said, and he started to cry. Don't be treating me like a patch of moss, right? He managed to laugh again while wiping his eyes. He moved closer, unsteady, as though he could drop to his knees and hold on to her legs. She stood there stunned. Everyone else kept walking. He turned away and rubbed his nose with the top of his hand. A glass door beside them advertised a fortune teller. The letters on the door were purple, and the fortune teller's name was Dr. Mars. One time, he said. Just this time I'm going to ask, what should I say? What should I say? Do you want me to talk about my dead brother? Sure, I can talk about him. I can talk about him if that's what you want. We can talk. Yeah, my brother Jason got killed. He was murdered, you know? He was murdered by a motherfucker I knew. Chris hit himself in the face with his open palm. He laughed again, though the tears didn't stop. He abruptly sat on the 2-step stoop leading up to the fortune teller. Audrey kept her distance. He looked at her. His vision was unfocused, blurred shapes of strangers walking past a blurred shape he could recognize. What happened, huh? He said. You forgot your flask today? That's why you don't want to drink with me? She didn't answer. He wiped the tears again and saw Audrey Earl clearly in the canopy shadow. She seemed to be assessing him with dark wonder. I knew this man. Thank you.
Words, everybody.
Thanks.